My name's Abigail, and I'm 28. I was sitting in my tiny Ohio apartment, smiling at a photo of my sister Lily's engagement ring she'd sent me. Her wedding was supposed to be our family's big moment, a chance to feel whole again. Then my phone buzzed. Mom's text hit like a slap. "You're not coming to the wedding. Lily's family doesn't want you there." My heart froze. Was I ever really part of them? Have you ever felt pushed out by the ones you love most? Drop a like if this resonates and subscribe for more stories that hit close to home. Where are you watching from? Let me know below. Rain pattered against my apartment window, the kind of soft drizzle that usually calmed me. But tonight, my hands shook as I stared at Mom's text, the words burning into me. "You're not coming to the wedding. Lily's family doesn't want you there." I'm Abigail, 28, and I thought I knew my family. My cramped living room, with its secondhand couch and flickering lamp, felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. I dialed Mom, my heart thudding. No answer. I tried again. Voicemail. My thumb hovered over Lily's name. She'd always been my little sister, the one I'd braid hair, for the one who'd sneak into my bed during thunderstorms. I texted her. "Is this true?" Minutes passed. Nothing. I sank onto the couch, clutching the phone like it could change the truth. My eyes landed on a framed photo from Lily's engagement party 6 months ago. I'd driven 3 hours to that fancy venue, my beat-up Honda rattling the whole way. I'd spent weeks making a scrapbook for her, pasting in Polaroids of us as kids, our gap-toothed smiles at the county fair, our matching pigtails. Lily had thrown her arms around me, her eyes misty, calling me her rock. Ethan, her fiancé, had barely looked at me, his smile tight, like he was humoring a stranger. I'd chalked it up to nerves. Now I wondered. My phone buzzed, and my heart leapt, hoping it was Lily. But it was Clara, my best friend, her name lighting up the screen. I answered, my voice barely steady. Clara's a barista with a sharp tongue and a heart bigger than she admits. I told her about the text, my words stumbling. She didn't miss a beat. "That's garbage, Abigail. You need to march over to your mom's and demand answers." I pictured Mom's face, her lips pursed like they always were when I disappointed her. "I'm not sure I can," I said. Clara huffed. "You're stronger than that. Don't let them walk over you." I paced the room, my bare feet cold on the hardwood. Clara's words stirred something, but doubt gnawed at me. Was I overreacting? Maybe there was a misunderstanding. I opened my laptop, fingers trembling, and typed an email to Mom. "Dear Mom," I wrote, "I got your text about the wedding. Can you explain what's going on? I'm confused and hurt." I kept it polite, though I wanted to scream. I hit send, my stomach twisting. To distract myself, I scrolled through Lily's social media. Her recent posts were all glitz, her and Ethan at a vineyard, her with his parents at some charity gala, her dress sparkling under chandeliers. I wasn't in any of them. I hadn't been invited to those events, but I'd told myself it was because I was busy with freelance design gigs. Now the truth felt sharper. Had Lily been pulling away all this time? I stopped at a photo of her with Ethan's sister Harper, both laughing at a rooftop bar. Harper's comment read, "Family vibes only." My throat tightened. Clara texted me a screenshot from the engagement party, one she'd posted months ago. It was me smiling awkwardly in my thrift store dress, holding the scrapbook. She'd overheard Harper that night whispering to someone about how my job was low class, how my outfit screamed cheap. I'd laughed it off when Clara told me then, saying Harper was just stuck up. But now, it hit different. Was Harper the one who didn't want me at the wedding? Did she convince Lily? I opened my saved voicemails, scrolling to one from Lily dated 2 years back. Her voice was shaky, tears choking her words. "Abigail, I don't know what I'd do without you. You're the only one who gets me." She'd called after a bad breakup, and I'd stayed up all night talking her through it. I played it now, her voice filling the room, and my eyes stung. Where was that sister now? The one who needed me? I wiped my face, anger mixing with hurt. I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. I tossed my phone onto the couch, the voicemail's echo fading. My apartment felt too quiet now, the rain outside a dull hum. I was unraveling. Clara's words about confronting Mom stuck with me, but my legs felt heavy, like they'd betray me if I tried. I grabbed a glass of water, my hands still unsteady, and sat at my tiny kitchen table, the one I'd painted blue to cheer up this place. The email to Mom sat in my sent folder unanswered. I checked my phone again. Still no reply from Lily. I thought about that engagement party again, not the scrapbook or Harper's snide comments, but the way Mom had hovered near Ethan's parents, laughing too loud at their jokes. She'd always cared about appearances, but I never thought she'd let it touch us. I opened my sketchbook where I doodle when my mind's a mess, and flipped to a drawing I'd done of Lily last year. Her smile was wide, her eyes bright, like she trusted the world. I'd drawn it after she told me about Ethan, how he made her feel safe. Now that safety seemed to exclude me. My phone lit up with a text from Clara. "You still awake? Call me." I dialed her, needing her fire to keep me from sinking. She picked up, her voice sharp. "Did you hear from your mom yet?" I told her about the email, how Lily hadn't texted back. Clara groaned. "That's not right, Abigail. You need to go to your mom's house. Face her." I stared at the sketchbook, my throat tight. What if she shuts me out? Clara softened. "Then you'll know where you stand. You deserve that much." I stood, pacing again, my bare feet catching on a loose floorboard. Clara was right, but the idea of driving to Mom's, of seeing her cold eyes, made my stomach churn. I thought about my brother Caleb, who lived closer to Mom. Maybe he knew something. I texted him. "Hey, did Mom say anything about Lily's wedding? Why I'm not invited?" I waited, chewing my lip. Caleb replied fast. "Chill, Abigail. It's probably a mix-up. Call Lily tomorrow." His dismissal stung, like he didn't want to be bothered. Caleb had always been the golden child, the one Mom bragged about at family dinners. I'd never minded until now. I opened my fridge, grabbing a yogurt I didn't want, just to do something. My mind drifted to Dad, the missed call from yesterday still nagging me. He'd left when I was 10, a blurry memory of arguments and slammed doors. I hadn't seen him in years, but his call felt like a ghost stirring. I played his voicemail, his voice rough but calm. "Abigail, it's me. Just checking in. Call if you want." I deleted it, my chest tight. Why now? Did he know something about Mom, about this mess? I sat back at the table, staring at Lily's drawing. My phone buzzed again, and I lunged for it, hoping it was her. But it was a notification from Instagram, a new post from Ethan's mom, Diane. It was a photo of her and Lily at a bridal shop trying on veils. The caption read, "Counting down to our perfect day." My heart sank. Perfect day. Without me. I scrolled the comments, my eyes catching one from Harper. "Can't wait for this classy affair." The word classy hit like a jab. Was that what this was about? Me not fitting their polished world? I slammed the phone down, my breath short. Clara's voice echoed in my head. "Face her." I grabbed my keys, my pulse racing. I couldn't wait for Mom's email or Lily's excuses. I needed answers, even if they broke me. I pulled on my jacket, the rain louder now, matching the storm in my chest. As I opened the door, my phone buzzed once more. Caleb's name flashed. I opened his text, and my blood ran cold. "Stop stirring drama. Abigail, you're making this harder for Lily. Just let it go." Caleb's text burned in my hand. "Stop stirring drama." "Gail, you're making this harder for Lily. Just let it go." I stood frozen in my apartment doorway, keys dangling, the rain louder now, pounding like my heartbeat. I'm Abigail, 28, and I thought I knew my family. But this was a knife. I shoved my phone in my pocket and climbed into my Honda, the engine sputtering, as I headed to Mom's house. The wipers squeaked, barely clearing the blur of water and my own tears. The drive was a haze, streetlights smearing through the storm. I gripped the wheel, replaying Caleb's words. He'd always been Mom's favorite, the one who got new sneakers while I wore hand-me-downs. But siding with Lily like this, dismissing me like I was some nuisance. That was new. My chest ached, a mix of fury and something heavier, like grief. I pulled into Mom's suburban neighborhood, the 2-story house glowing under porch lights. It used to feel like home. I parked my hands, trembling as I walked to the door. My jacket was soaked, but I didn't care. I knocked hard. Mom opened the door, her face tight like she'd been expecting me, but hoped I wouldn't show. "Abigail," she said, her voice flat. "It's late." I stepped inside anyway. The familiar smell of her lavender candles hitting me. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "About the wedding? About why I'm not invited?" Mom crossed her arms, standing by the staircase. Her silence was worse than any excuse. I pressed on. "Ethan's family doesn't want me there?" "What does that even mean?" she sighed, looking past me. "They want it to be elegant, Abigail. You wouldn't fit the aesthetic." My breath caught. "Aesthetic? I'm your daughter." She glanced at the floor, her jaw tight. "It's Lily's day. She doesn't need drama." Drama. There was that word again. I felt my face heat up, my voice rising. "I'm not the one causing drama, Mom. You are. You're choosing strangers over me." Her eyes flicked to mine, sharp now. "They're not strangers. They're family now. Ethan's parents have been good to us." I laughed bitter. "Good to you? What, they buy you fancy dinners, and I'm out?" She didn't answer, but her silence said enough. I noticed Caleb in the living room doorway, leaning against the wall, arms crossed. He looked annoyed, like I was interrupting his night. "What's your deal, Abigail?" he said. "You're making this a bigger thing than it is." I turned on him, my voice shaking. "A bigger thing? My own brother's telling me to shut up and take it." He shrugged. "Lily's happy. Why can't you just be cool with that?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I looked at Mom, searching for a crack in her resolve. Nothing. My eyes caught a photo on the mantel, one I hadn't seen before. Lily, Ethan, and his parents on a yacht, all smiles. I remembered a different photo, one of us as kids, Mom laughing with me and Lily at a picnic. It used to sit there. Now it was gone, replaced by this shiny new family. My stomach twisted. I took a step toward Mom, my voice low. "When did you decide I wasn't good enough?" She flinched just for a second, but it was enough to make me push harder. "Tell me, Mom. When did I stop being your daughter?" Caleb cut in, his tone sharp. "Enough, Abigail. You're embarrassing yourself." I spun to face him, my fists clenched. "Embarrassing? You're the one kissing up to Ethan's dad for a job. What's that about, Caleb?" His face reddened, and I knew I'd hit a nerve. He opened his mouth, but Mom raised a hand. "Stop it, both of you. Abigail, you need to leave." I stared at her, my heart pounding. "Leave? You're kicking me out?" She nodded, her eyes cold. "I'm not doing this tonight. Go home." I stood there, rain dripping from my hair, feeling like the ground had vanished beneath me. I stood in Mom's entryway, rain pooling at my feet, her words echoing, "Go home." I felt like a stranger in the house I grew up in. My throat burned, but I couldn't move. Caleb smirked like he'd won something. I wanted to wipe that look off his face, but Mom's stare pinned me. "You heard me, Abigail," she said, her voice ice. "I don't want a scene." I laughed, sharp and hollow. "A scene? You're erasing me, and I'm the problem." I turned to Caleb, my voice shaking. "You're okay with this, throwing me out for Ethan's family?" He rolled his eyes. "Grow up, Abigail. It's a wedding, not your personal stage." His words cut deeper than Mom's, slicing through years of late-night talks, shared secrets. I'd helped him with his college essays, cheered at his baseball games. Now he stood there, choosing their money over me. Mom stepped closer, her hand on the door. "I'm done talking. Leave, or I'll call someone." "Call someone," I said, my voice rising. "Like who? Mom, the cops on your own daughter?" She didn't flinch, just pointed outside. My chest heaved, anger mixing with a sick, sinking hurt. I looked at the living room, at the couch where Lily and I used to binge old movies, the kitchen where Mom taught me to make pancakes. It felt like a museum now, preserving a life I wasn't part of anymore. I stumbled outside, the rain cold against my face. My car was a blur through my tears. I climbed in, slamming the door, and sat there gripping the wheel. My phone buzzed. I grabbed it, desperate for Lily's name, but it was Clara. "You at your mom's." "What happened?" I couldn't answer. My fingers fumbled to Lily's contact. I called her, my breath ragged. Straight to voicemail. Her cheery message, "Hey, it's Lily. Leave love," felt like a mockery. I hung up, my hands shaking. I drove, not knowing where, the road slick and dark. My mind churned. Mom's words about Ethan's family, their elegance, kept circling. I thought of my life, my freelance gigs, my thrift store clothes, my tiny apartment. Was that why? Because I didn't match their world? I pulled into a gas station, the neon sign buzzing. My phone lit up with a text from Dad of all people. "Saw your car at your mom's. You okay?" I stared at it, my chest tight. He'd been gone for years, and now he cared. I leaned my head back, closing my eyes. A memory hit me unbidden, Lily's 16th birthday, when I'd saved up to buy her a journal, the kind with a leather cover she'd always wanted. She'd hugged me so tight, whispering, "You're the best, Abigail." I'd felt like her hero. Now she was letting Ethan's family decide my worth. My phone buzzed again, another text from Dad. "Your mom's changed. Call me if you need to talk." Changed? She'd always been strict, but this cutting me out was new. Cruel. I opened Instagram, a habit I couldn't shake. Lily had posted a story, her and Harper sipping wine at some rooftop lounge, captioned "Wedding prep with my ride or die." My stomach twisted. Ride or die, that used to be me. I scrolled to Ethan's page, his latest post, a photo of him and Caleb at a golf course laughing. Caleb's comment, "Thanks for the hookup, man." Hookup. So, that was it. Caleb was chasing a job, Mom was chasing status, and Lily was chasing a perfect life. And me? I was collateral damage. I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat, my breath short. The gas station's fluorescent lights flickered, matching the chaos in my head. I wanted to scream, to drive back and force Mom to see me. But deep down, a colder truth was settling. They'd already decided I didn't belong. My family, the people I'd loved most, had drawn a line, and I was on the wrong side. I sat in a corner booth at the coffee shop, the smell of roasted beans grounding me. I'm Abigail, 28, and I was barely holding it together. Clara slid into the seat across from me, her eyes fierce. She'd been digging, and what she found made my stomach churn. 5 years ago, I'd helped Lily escape her abusive ex, Marcus. I'd paid for her therapy, kept it quiet, even from Mom. Now Clara said Ethan's mom, Diane, knew. She thought that mess made me unfit for their pristine wedding. I gripped my mug, the ceramic hot against my palms. Diane's judgment wasn't just about my job or clothes. It was about my loyalty to Lily, the one thing I'd never regretted. Clara leaned in, her voice low. Diane's calling it drama, Abigail. She told Lily you'd taint their image. I stared at her, my breath shallow. Taint, I saved my sister. Clara nodded. Yeah, and Lily's letting her say it. The coffee shop buzzed around us, waitresses calling orders, but I felt like I was underwater. I'd spent months scraping together cash for Lily's sessions, working late nights on design gigs. I'd held her when she cried, promising she'd be okay. And now that act of love was why I was banned. My chest tightened, a mix of rage and disbelief. I need to see Lily, I said, my voice shaking. Clara raised an eyebrow. You sure she's at the bridal boutique now? I nodded, my resolve hardening. I had to hear it from her. The drive to the boutique was a blur, my hands tight on the wheel. The shop was upscale, all glass and soft lighting, the kind of place I'd never step into. I parked, my heart pounding, and walked in, the bell above the door chiming. Lily was there in a white dress, standing on a platform. She looked like a dream, her curls pinned up, a veil trailing behind. For a second, I saw the little girl who'd clung to me during storms. Then her eyes met mine, and they widened, not with joy, but with panic. Abigail, she said, stepping down, her voice tight. What are you doing here? Ethan's sister Harper was lounging on a velvet chair, a glass of champagne in hand. She smirked, her eyes raking over my worn sneakers. Oh, look, it's the family reject, she said, loud enough for the staff to glance over. My face burned, but I ignored her, focusing on Lily. We need to talk, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. About the wedding, about why I'm not invited. Lily fidgeted, her hands twisting the edge of her veil. It's complicated, she said, glancing at Harper. I took a step closer, my voice low. Complicated, Mom said. Ethan's family doesn't want me there. Is that true? Lily's eyes darted away, and that silence was louder than any words. My throat tightened. You're letting them decide I'm not good enough, I asked, my voice cracking. Lily, I'm your sister. Harper stood, her heels clicking. Let's not make a scene, Abigail. This is Lily's moment. I turned on her, my anger spilling over. A scene? You're the one who's been trashing me to Diane? Harper laughed sharp. Oh, please. You're the one with the baggage. My jaw clenched. Baggage. Like helping Lily when she was broken. Harper's eyes narrowed, but she didn't answer. I looked back at Lily, desperate for her to say something, anything. Lily's face crumpled, but her voice was cold. It's not about that, Abigail. It's just, you being there would make things awkward. Awkward, I repeated, my voice rising. I felt the room spin, the weight of her words crushing me. I'd given her everything, my time, my money, my heart, and now I was awkward. My eyes caught the diamond bracelet on her wrist, the one I'd saved for a thrift store find for her 21st birthday. She noticed me staring and tucked it behind her sleeve like it shamed her. I stepped back, my breath short, the boutique's soft music mocking the chaos in my chest. Lily wasn't just letting this happen, she was choosing it, choosing them. My sister, the one I'd carried through her darkest days, was standing there, letting me be erased. I stood in the boutique, my heart hammering, Lily's words awkward ringing in my ears. I was shattering. The air felt thick, the staff's whispers buzzing like static. Harper's smirk widened, her champagne glass glinting as she stepped closer. You should go, Abigail, she said, her voice dripping with fake pity. Nobody wants this to get messy. I ignored her, my eyes locked on Lily. Say it, I demanded, my voice raw. Say you don't want me at your wedding. Lily's lips parted, but no sound came. Her silence was a blade cutting deeper than any insult. Then Harper laughed, sharp and cruel. Oh, come on, Lily, tell her. She's not one of us. My breath hitched. One of us, I said, turning to Harper. What? Because I don't have your money. Your perfect little world. Harper tilted her head, her eyes cold. Exactly. You're the sister who drags her down. Always have been. I felt my knees buckle, but I stayed upright, my nails digging into my palms. Drags her down. I'd carried Lily through hell, sat with her in dark moments she'd never shared with anyone else. I looked at Lily, begging her to speak, to defend me. She stared at the floor, her hands clasped tight. The boutique's mirrors reflected her dress, her beauty, but all I saw was a stranger. My voice broke. I gave you everything, Lily. Everything. Harper snorted, stepping between us. Spare us the sob story. You think Lily wants her past waved around, that mess with Marcus? My blood ran cold. Marcus. The name hit like a punch. How did Harper know? Lily's head snapped up, her eyes wide with panic. Harper, stop, she whispered, but Harper kept going, her voice louder now, drawing stares. Diane's right. You're a walking scandal, Abigail. No wonder Lily's ashamed. Ashamed. The word landed like a boulder, crushing what was left of me. I looked at Lily, my vision blurring with tears. Is that true? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Are you ashamed of me? Lily's eyes filled, but she didn't answer. Her silence was louder than Harper's taunts, louder than the hum of the boutique. I felt the weight of every sacrifice I'd made, every late night, every dollar, every tear collapse into nothing. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket, a sharp jolt. I pulled it out, hands shaking, and saw a text from Dad. Just heard from Caleb. Ethan's family paid off Mom's debts. They own her now. My stomach dropped. I glanced at Lily, then Harper, the pieces snapping together. Mom's loyalty. Caleb's job chase. Lily's silence. It wasn't just about me. They were all tangled in Ethan's family's money, and I was the price they paid to keep it. Harper's voice cut through again, mocking now. Look at her, Lily. She's falling apart. Just let her go. The staff watched, some pretending to adjust dresses, others staring openly. I felt exposed, like my pain was a show for their entertainment. My eyes landed on a display of wedding favors, tiny silver bells engraved with Lily and Ethan's initials. I'd helped pick those out online late at night, laughing with Lily over cheap wine. Now they mocked me, proof of a life I'd been written out of. I turned back to Lily, my voice trembling but loud. You chose status over blood, didn't you? I waited, my heart pounding for her to deny it, to fight for me. But she just stood there, tears streaking her face, her mouth closed. The boutique spun around me, the lights too bright, the air too thin. My family, my sister had sold me out, and I was standing in the wreckage alone, with nothing left to hold on to. I stumbled out of the boutique, Lily's silence and Harper's taunts ringing in my ears. I'm Abigail, 28, and I was done breaking. The rain had stopped, leaving the air heavy, my sneakers squelching on the wet pavement. I climbed into my car, my hands shaking Dad's text about Mom's debts still burning in my mind. They'd sold me out for money, but I wasn't going to let them bury me. I drove home, the city lights blurring past, a fire kindling in my chest. Back in my apartment, I dropped onto the couch, the quiet pressing in. My laptop sat on the coffee table, a reminder of the life I'd built despite them. I opened it, scrolling through old emails, my heart racing. Last year, Lily had asked me to co-sign the wedding venue deposit. I'd done it without a second thought, dipping into my savings for her dream day. Now that choice felt like a lifeline. I pulled up the venue's contract, my eyes scanning the fine print. My name was there, clear as day, tied to the payment. A clause caught my attention. Co-signers could cancel with notice forfeiting the deposit. My pulse quickened. That deposit was thousands money Ethan's family had fronted, thinking they could control everything. I leaned back, my breath steadying. They didn't want me at the wedding, fine. I'd hit them where it hurt. I called Clara, my voice low but firm. She answered, her tone worried. You okay? You sounded wrecked when you left the boutique. I told her about the deposit, my plan forming as I spoke. I'm canceling it, Clara. They can't have their perfect day if I'm not part of it. She let out a whistle. That's bold, Abigail. You sure? I nodded, though she couldn't see. I've never been sure. I hung up and dialed the venue, my fingers steady now. The manager was polite but confused, confirming the cancellation would void the deposit and free the date. Do it, I said, my voice calm but ironclad. As I spoke, I felt a weight lift, like I was clawing back a piece of myself. I ended the call and opened my texts, pulling up Mom's number. My thumbs hovered, then typed, "Since I'm not family, neither is my money." I hit send, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and power. I stood pacing my tiny living room, the worn rug soft under my feet. My eyes landed on a stack of design sketches, projects I'd poured my soul into. I'd always been the one to fix things, to make sacrifices. Not anymore. I grabbed a notebook, jotting down ideas, my mind racing. I'd start a blog, something raw about family and betrayal. Not to spite them, but to reclaim my voice. My doorbell buzzed, snapping me out of it. Clara stood there, holding a bag of pastries, her grin wide. "Heard you went full boss mode?" she said, stepping inside. I laughed, soft but real, and we sat on my couch, crumbs falling as we talked. Clara pushed me to post the blog, saying it could help someone. I hesitated, my old fear of being too much creeping in, but then I remembered Harper's smirk, Mom's cold eyes. I hit publish, my chest tight but proud. I walked to my bedroom, pulling open a drawer I rarely touched. Inside was a letter I'd written to Lily years ago, after I'd helped her through Marcus. I'd poured my heart into it, promising to always be there, but never sent it. I held it now, the paper creased from time. My eyes stung not with sadness, but with clarity. I'd kept that promise, but she hadn't. I carried the letter to my kitchen, lit a match, and watched it burn in the sink, the flames curling the edges. The smoke stung my nose, but I felt lighter, like I'd released a weight I'd carried too long. Tessa texted, confirming the venue's cancellation notice went out. Ethan's family would know by tonight. I imagined their shock, Diane's pursed lips, Harper's outrage. Good. Let them feel unsteady for once. I grabbed my sketchbook, flipping to a blank page, and started drawing, not for a client, but for me. Bold lines, sharp angles, a woman standing tall. It was messy, but it was mine. I stood by my window, the city humming below. My phone was silent, no texts from Mom or Lily begging me to stop. That silence wasn't empty, it was space room for me to grow. I looked at the locket on my dresser, the one Lily gave me as kids. I didn't open it. Instead, I turned away, my reflection catching in the glass. My eyes were tired but clear, and for the first time, I saw someone who wasn't apologizing for existing. I'm Abigail, 28, and the world felt different, sharper, since I canceled the venue deposit. A month had passed, and I was at the community center stacking chairs after a kids' art class I volunteered for. The room smelled of crayons and glue, a small comfort. My phone, tucked in my back pocket, had been quiet since I blocked Mom, Lily, and Caleb. But yesterday, Voicemails started slipping through from Mom. Her voice clipped, asking me to call back. I hadn't listened past the first few seconds. I carried a stack of paint-splattered smocks to the storage closet, my arms full, when my phone buzzed again. I set the smocks down and checked it, expecting Clara or Tessa. It was an email from the venue confirming the cancellation had processed. Ethan's family lost 10 grand, and the wedding was now a courthouse affair. No grand ballroom, no chandeliers. I leaned against the closet wall, my breath catching. I'd done that. Me. Back at the center's main room, Lucas, a single dad who volunteered with me, was wiping down tables. He was quiet, with kind eyes that saw more than he said. I'd told him bits of my story last week over coffee in the break room. He glanced over, noticing my stillness. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice low. I nodded, slipping my phone away. "Just family stuff." He didn't push, just handed me a rag to help clean. His calm steadied me like a tether to something solid. Later, I sat in my car, the engine off, and finally played Mom's latest voicemail. Abigail. Her voice was tight, almost shaking. "The venue's gone. Ethan's family is furious. Why would you do this? Call me. Now." I deleted it, my jaw tight. Why? Because they'd thrown me out like trash. I wasn't sorry, but her voice stirred a flicker of guilt, like I'd broken something sacred. I pushed it down, starting the car. At home, I checked my blog, the one I'd started to process this mess. It had a few dozen followers now, strangers leaving comments about their own family betrayals. One wrote, "Your story makes me feel less alone." I stared at the screen, my throat tight. I'd written for myself, but it was reaching others, building something new. I typed a reply, my fingers slow but sure, thanking them. It felt like planting a seed in ground I'd thought was barren. My phone lit up with a text from Clara. Check Harper's Instagram. Drama alert. I hesitated, then opened the app. Harper had posted a cryptic story, a black screen with white text. "Some people will do anything to ruin a good thing. Jealousy's ugly." My stomach twisted. It was about me, no question. I imagined her typing it smug, thinking she'd shame me into silence. I closed the app, my hands cold. I wouldn't bite. Not yet. I walked to my kitchen, grabbing a mug for tea, the routine grounding me. On the counter was a folded note, one I'd found tucked in my old jacket pocket yesterday. It was from Lily's therapist, dated years ago, thanking me for supporting Lily's recovery. "Your strength saved her," it read. I'd forgotten about it, but now it felt like a relic, proof of a bond that no longer existed. I set it down my chest, heavy, the weight of what I'd lost settling in. I sank onto my couch, the room dim, the city's hum faint outside. Mom's voicemails, Harper's jab, the note, they swirled in my head, a storm I couldn't outrun. I'd struck back, and it felt good, but the cost was real. My family was gone, not just in name, but in every way that mattered. I closed my eyes, the silence louder than ever, and wondered if I'd ever feel whole again. I walked to the park near my apartment, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the grass. The community center's chaos had faded, but the sting of Mom's voicemail and Harper's Instagram jab lingered. I sat on a bench, the wood cool under my hands, watching kids chase a soccer ball. Their laughter felt distant, like it belonged to a world I'd lost. My phone buzzed in my jacket pocket. I ignored it, but it buzzed again, insistent. It was a text from Lucas, the volunteer dad from the center. "Heard you're going through it," he wrote. "Want to talk?" I stared at the words, my throat tight. I'd opened up to him last week, just enough to hint at the wedding mess. His reply then had stuck with me. He'd been shunned by his own family for choosing his daughter over their expectations. I typed back, "Maybe tomorrow. Thanks." His kindness was a lifeline, but I wasn't ready to lean in. I leaned back, the bench creaking, and pulled my jacket tighter. The park was quieting families heading home. I thought about my blog, how strangers' comments had started to fill a void. One reader had shared how her sister cut her off for a richer in-law, mirroring my story. I'd read it late last night, my eyes burning, feeling seen in a way my family never offered. But it wasn't enough to dull the ache of what I'd done. My phone lit up again, this time, a voicemail notification. Mom again. I hesitated, then played it, keeping the volume low. Abigail. Her voice was softer now, almost pleading. "The wedding's a mess. Ethan's parents won't speak to us. Please fix this." I deleted it before she finished, my jaw tight. "Fix this." She hadn't called to apologize, to ask how I was, just to clean up her mess like always. I stood walking toward the park's small pond, the water still and dark. A memory surfaced, Lily and I here as teens, tossing pebbles, betting who could make the most ripples. She'd always won her laugh bright. Now I'd made ripples of my own, and they were drowning her perfect day. I waited for guilt to hit, but it didn't. Instead, I felt a cold clarity. I'd stopped being their doormat. But the cost was this hollow space where family used to be. I reached into my pocket, pulling out a small keychain, a cheap trinket Lily had given me at a fair years ago. It was shaped like a star, scratched from years of use. I'd kept it like a talisman, a reminder of her. Now it felt heavy, useless. I turned it over in my hand, the metal catching the fading light. I didn't toss it into the pond, but I wanted to. Instead, I slipped it back in my pocket, my fingers cold. My phone buzzed once more, a text from Dad this time. "Met Caleb today. He's mad, says you ruined everything. Want to grab coffee?" I stared at the screen, my chest tightening. Dad, sober now, was trying to rebuild something, but his timing felt like salt in a wound. Caleb's anger didn't surprise me, but it still stung, a reminder of how far we'd fallen. I didn't reply, just locked my phone and looked out at the pond. The air grew cooler, the park emptying out. I sat back on the bench, my hands clasped tight. The consequences of my choice to cancel the deposit to step away were real now. Mom's pleas, Caleb's rage, Lily's absence, they were all proof I'd shaken their world. But as the sun dipped below the trees, I felt no victory, only a quiet, heavy void. My family was gone, and I was left holding the pieces, unsure if they'd ever fit again. I stood in the gala's crowded ballroom, the chandeliers casting soft light over silk dresses and clinking glasses. I'm Abigail, 28, and I felt like a new woman. 2 months had passed since I canceled the venue deposit, and tonight I was here in a borrowed navy gown from Tessa, my shoulders straight. The air smelled of perfume and wine, but I was steady, my heart calm. I'd come to face Lily, Ethan, and their world, not to fight, but to prove I belonged in my own skin. The room buzzed with chatter, but my eyes scanned for familiar faces. I spotted Lily across the floor, her arm linked with Ethan's, her laugh bright but forced. She hadn't seen me yet. I took a sip of water, the glass cool in my hand, and felt Dad's presence beside me. He'd insisted on coming. His gray suit slightly wrinkled, his smile quiet but proud. "You look strong," he'd said in the car, and I'd held on to those words. I moved through the crowd, my heels clicking softly, aware of the glances from strangers. I wasn't the Abigail who'd crumbled in that boutique. My blog had grown, its words weaving a net of strangers who felt like friends, their stories of resilience echoing mine. I'd started sketching again, not for clients, but for joy, filling pages with soft curves and bold colors. Each choice I'd made since that day, cutting ties, writing, standing here, was a brick in a new foundation. Then I saw Harper leaning against a bar, her red dress sharp against the room's glow. She caught my eye and froze, her smirk faltering. I walked toward her, not rushing my pulse even. Harper straightened, tossing her hair. "Didn't expect you here," she said, her voice laced with edge. I smiled, small but real. "I belong anywhere I choose to be." Her eyes narrowed, but I didn't flinch. "You think you're clever ruining the wedding?" she hissed. I tilted my head. "I didn't ruin anything. You did by thinking you could erase me." She opened her mouth, but I turned away, leaving her words hanging. The music swelled, a slow waltz, and I felt a lightness I hadn't known in months. I wasn't here to win or lose. I was here to exist unapologetically. Dad caught up his hand, brushing my elbow. "You handled that well," he said, his voice low. I nodded, my throat tight. He didn't know the half of it, but his presence, steady and new, was enough. I glanced at Lily again, now talking to Ethan's mom, Diane. They hadn't noticed me, and I didn't need them to. I thought of the locket I'd worn for years, now tucked in a drawer. Tonight, I'd pinned a small brooch to my dress, a silver leaf I'd found at a flea market, simple but mine. It gleamed faintly, a reminder that I was enough. The crowd parted, and I saw Lucas, the volunteer dad, standing near a table, his daughter tugging his sleeve. He waved, his smile warm, and I felt a spark of something new, connection, not obligation. I took a breath, the air cooler now, and stepped toward the dance floor. The gala's noise faded, my heartbeat loud but steady. I wasn't the sister who fixed everything anymore. I was Abigail, rebuilding, choosing myself. The music wrapped around me, and for the first time, I felt like I could breathe without proving anything to anyone. I glided across the gala's dance floor. Lucas's hand steady in mine, the waltz's rhythm soft and sure. I was finding my footing. The ballroom's glow felt distant, like a painting I could admire without needing to own. Lucas's daughter giggled nearby, twirling in her sparkly dress, and I smiled, her joy a quiet gift. I wasn't chasing approval anymore, not from Lily, not from anyone. I was here whole in this moment. We stepped off the floor, and I caught Diane's voice, sharp and low, from a nearby table. "The wedding was a disaster," she muttered to a guest, blaming me. "Ethan's family lost face." I froze, my pulse quickening, but then let it go. Her words couldn't touch me now. I'd spent months carrying their judgment, letting it carve me into something small. But tonight, I stood taller, the silver leaf brooch on my dress, catching the light, a quiet claim to my own worth. Dad joined me, his coffee in hand, his eyes scanning the room. "You don't need their world," he said, his voice rough but kind. I nodded, my throat tight. He'd been absent for years, but his presence, now flawed and earnest, was a bridge I hadn't expected. We walked to a quieter corner, the music fading. I thought of my apartment, the sketches piling up on my desk. Each one a step toward a life I was building, not borrowing. I glanced at Lily, still with Ethan, her smile tight. She looked my way just for a second, her eyes flickering with something, regret maybe, or recognition. I didn't move toward her. I didn't need to. The girl who'd begged for her love was gone. I'd written a blog post last week, not about anger, but about forgiveness, the kind you give yourself. It had poured out of me late at night, the words raw but freeing. I'd forgiven Lily, not for her, but for me. Lucas called me over, his daughter tugging my hand, asking me to spin with her. I laughed, twirling her under the chandeliers, her giggles filling the air. The gala's elegance. Diane's whispers, Harper's glares, they all blurred into the background. I wasn't here to prove I was enough. I knew it now. My blog had grown readers sharing their own stories of breaking free their words, weaving a community I hadn't known I needed. I stepped outside for air, the night cool against my skin. The city hummed beyond the venue, alive and indifferent. Dad followed, standing beside me silent. He mentioned a family heirloom last week, something Mom had kept from me. It didn't matter now, not really. I looked up at the stars, faint but there, and felt my breath slow. I'd lost a family, but I'd found something else, a quiet strength, a life that was mine. I slipped my hands into my pockets, the brooch's weight, a gentle reminder. The gala's music drifted out soft and distant. I closed my eyes, letting the moment settle, not heavy, but light, like a page turning. I wasn't running from the past anymore. I was walking forward steady with nothing to prove but everything to live for. I'm Abigail, 28, and 6 months have passed since the gala. Since I walked away from the weight of my family's choices. I'm in my apartment now, the morning light filtering through new curtains. I sewed myself simple white cotton that flutter in the breeze. The space feels different, not just because I've rearranged the furniture, but because I've rearranged me. I sit at my desk, a mug of tea steaming, and open my laptop. My blog has grown hundreds of readers now, their comments a quiet chorus of shared strength. Yesterday, a package arrived from Dad, a heavy box with my name in his shaky handwriting. Inside was a quilt. Its patches faded, but soft-stitched by my grandma before I was born. Dad's note said Mom had kept it hidden, meant for me, but never given. I spread it over my couch, running my fingers over the uneven seams, each one a story I'd never know. It smelled of old cotton and time grounding me in a way I hadn't expected. I've started running in the mornings, not fast, just steady along a trail near my building. The crunch of gravel under my sneakers, the rhythm of my breath, it's become a ritual. Today I passed a dogwood tree, its buds just opening, and stopped to watch a sparrow perch on a branch. I used to rush through life fixing things for Lily, for Mom, for everyone but me. Now I'm learning to pause to let the world be. Clara called last night, her voice bright over the phone. She's planning a road trip and wants me along, promising bad playlists and greasy diners. I laughed, something I do more now, and said yes. Tessa texted too, offering a partnership in her event planning business, a chance to design for clients who value my work. I haven't decided yet, but the possibility feels like a door cracked open, letting in light. I walk to my kitchen, grabbing an apple, its skin cool against my palm. My phone sits on the counter, no longer a source of dread. I unblocked Mom and Lily months ago, not to talk, but to let go of the anger tying me to them. Lily sent a message once short and hesitant, saying she's struggling with Ethan. I read it, felt a pang, but didn't reply. She's not my responsibility anymore. I wish her well, but from a distance, like watching a ship sail away. I've been painting again, small canvases I hang on my walls, bursts of color that don't need to be perfect. Last week, I finished one, a horizon at dusk, all purples and golds, no figures, just space. It's not for anyone else, just me, a reminder that I can create without proving my worth. My apartment, once a place to hide, is now a home filled with things I've chosen, a thrifted lamp, a stack of poetry books, a single mug with a chip that I love anyway. I sit back at my desk, scrolling through my blog's latest post about finding peace after loss. A reader commented saying it helped her forgive her brother. I smile, my chest warm. I'm not fixed, not whole in some shiny way, but I'm growing stitch by stitch like Grandma's quilt. I close my laptop, the room quiet, and take a slow breath. The past is behind me, not gone, but no longer heavy. I'm ready to live what's next. I'm Abigail, 28, and I'm learning to carry my own light. This afternoon, I walked to a lakeside park, the quilt from Grandma draped over my shoulders, its weight soft and familiar. The water shimmered under a gray sky, ripples catching the last of the day's glow. I found a quiet spot, a cluster of trees where the grass was worn from picnics and play. I sat the quilt pooling around me and let the world settle. This place, this moment, was mine. I've started a podcast, a small one born from my blog. I record in my bedroom, my voice unsteady at first, sharing stories of breaking free of finding yourself after loss. The first episode went live last week, and I got an email from a listener, a woman in Oregon, who said it gave her courage to leave a toxic job. I read it 3 times, my eyes misty, not because I'd fixed her, but because we'd connected 2 strangers, building something real. Clara and Lucas met me here earlier, their laughter a soft anchor. Clara brought a thermos of hot chocolate, Lucas, his daughter's drawings, to show off. We sat on a blanket talking about nothing and everything, the kind of talk that feels like home. Tessa's offer still sits in my inbox, a chance to build something new. I'll say yes soon, not out of need, but because I want to. My life isn't perfect, but it's honest, pieced together, like the quilt, each square, a choice I made. I reached into my pocket, pulling out a small knife I'd brought, its handle smooth from years of use. I walked to a nearby oak, its bark rough under my fingers. I carved my initials, AM, into the trunk, not deep, just enough to mark my place. It wasn't about owning anything, it was about belonging to myself, to this world. I stepped back, the letters faint, but there, a quiet vow to keep showing up. I thought about Lily, not with anger, but with a distant ache. I'd heard through Clara that her marriage was fraying Ethan's family, tightening their grip. I felt no joy in it, just a soft pity, like watching a bird caught in a net. I'd spent years trying to save her, but I couldn't anymore. I'd saved myself instead, and that was enough. Caleb hadn't reached out, and Mom's calls had stopped. Dad and I meet for coffee now, our talks slow, building something fragile but real. The lake's surface stilled, reflecting the clouds. I stood folding the quilt, its colors muted in the dusk. The lesson wasn't loud or grand. It was, this family isn't just blood. It's who chooses you, who sees you, who stays. And sometimes, the first person who needs to choose you is yourself. Pain can tear you open, but it can also carve space for something stronger, something true. I'd learned to love myself, not because I was perfect, but because I was enough. What's a moment you chose yourself, even when it hurt? Share it below. I read every word. If this story touched you, give it a like, subscribe for more, and share it with someone who needs it. Thank you for listening, for being here. May you find your own quiet strength today and always.